Wait.
Just read the question.
Wait. How do I call you just Mr. Parker?
You can call me Todd. Okay, call me Mr. Parker.
Okay. So, who had started this business and organization?
Okay, James Cox. He was a former governor of Ohio, and he ran for vice president of the United States back in 1898. He started the company.
Okay. When was it? Like, where and?
Started in Ohio. He was in the newspaper business. So he started it as of course his last name was James Cox, so he called it Cox, but it wasn't Cox Communications at the time, but it was newspapers. He had a newspaper business, and it grew to cable, radio stations, TV stations, auto auctions. It's a pretty large company. The main company's called Cox Communication Enterprises.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of degrees or skills are required to work at Cox Communications?
Okay, so we have jobs that don't require degrees. Some do when you get into the management or leadership positions or in a specialty, but for our installation people or our retail sales, you don't have to have a college degree to do that. But on the installation side, there are some skill sets that you need to have. You know, having a background in wiring or electronics, things like that. But there's not an actual college degree required to start at Cox.
How would you think that this business would change in the future?
Well, clearly, technology has moved it a lot. We, Cox Communications, are a technology company. We provide phone, internet, cable television. On my side of the business, which is Cox Business, we provide data transport, phone systems to business customers. So the evolution is at one point we just delivered service to a customer. Now we move beyond what they call the demarc, which is the point of demarcation where we deliver a signal to the customer. We've moved beyond that, where we actually will deliver it right up to the desktop, the computer screen to the customer. So that's a big evolution. Home security, things like that, we're evolving into that business as well.
And how does Cox Communications serve the community today?
Well, it does it in several different ways. I mean, the key points of Cox from a standpoint of, besides providing service to residents, our public relations departments does a lot of stuff around education, kids, and technology. So a lot of money is funneled back into our through community outreach, where we provide dollars for school systems or fire stations. We provide free cable in the classroom. So there's lots of ways that Cox filters money back to the community. But even each one of the employees has X amount of time for volunteerism. So what we'll do is they have 2 days a year that they can go out and work in the community, whether it be Habitat for Humanity or a cancer support house, helping build or paint or do things like that. So the employees have that time that they can take off from work and be paid to work in the community.
Interesting, I never knew that. Who currently owns in Fort Smith, who owns this?
Okay, so nobody in Fort Smith owns this. This is a privately held company. At one point, Cox was a publicly traded company. The family of James Cox owns the company outright now. They bought it back from a public holding, so it's privately held via the James Cox family. Mr. Cox has passed on years back, but his daughters and their children own the company.
Okay, and then one last question. What is Cox Communication, what are the products that they make or services that they do?
Okay, so as I told you before, we are in the radio, television, and newspaper business. Cox Communications is part of Cox Enterprises. We also own Autotrader.com, Mannheim Auto Auctions, and then Cox Business, which is part of Cox Communications. There's also some companies that that we own that provide hospitality services at hotels throughout the United States, and several other companies that use technology from cloud-based services that are part of Cox Enterprises, but they're their own entities. So it's a pretty large conglomerate of companies, but mostly about 75% of the business revolves around Cox Communications, which is a cable internet service provider and telephone provider. We're the fourth largest phone company in the United States.
I'm sorry, one more thing. What's a typical day for you as a worker at Cox Communications?
Okay, so typical day, you do a lot of emails, lots of conference calls. We do have video conference calls as well. I manage a team of 8 people, so we do a lot of one-on-ones where we talk about how they're going to meet their goals. We do a lot of planning with business customers on how we can provide better solutions to help their business be more efficient, save money, and or increase their business. So a typical day mostly involves spending a lot of time finding out about business customers.
Is there any way that we can get a tour of it, like a small tour of as many places that we could see in this building?
Yeah, I can take you around this building now. In this building,